Hi, I'm very flattered for these words. So the first thing I have to say is that is a lie. I'm not the editor-in-chief of TimeOut, but actually a very recent lie. I'm not since 3 days ago, I think, so it's a very recent thing. I had to give up, of course, in something, and it was my job as a journalist, which, if you know any, you will know it's very tough to take these decisions. Like, when you take that decision to be a journalist, it's like something, well, I was 8 years old, so you can imagine how difficult it is to go to other paths. But I think the new path, was more than worth it. To do a very, very quick introduction. I've been the founder of the magazine itself here in Lisbon. I was living in London at the time. I thought that if there was space for any editorial project in Portugal, it would be for TimeOut, because there was not even a cultural guide, but there was nothing that was close to lifestyle. And of course, 8-9 years ago, lifestyle was already a big thing everywhere, and here it was still not. So I thought it could work, and actually it did work. And of course, that was my job for a long, long time. I decided probably 3 years ago that I had to left, because otherwise I think the role for my future would be some kind of those actors of the television series, which we identify always with the same role. I think I must do something else. Because of that, mainly because of other things. My shareholders at the time at TimeOut saw the business really, were happy, of course, with the results. We created, I think, most than anything, a very, very strong brand. We got to the point of knowing, I revealed this week on the magazine, that TimeOut Lisbon is the 3rd city in the whole world with the strongest brand awareness. And we're talking about 105 cities that TimeOut is already in. And so we got to that point of creating a very strong brand. But there was a limitation inside our borders, and our shareholders were not very keen on technology. They were never. And that was difficult, of course, for a young team of very inspired people and very talented people. We needed to do something, of course, different, but technology was a no all the time. So that was difficult, of course. With that decision, we've created a big space for other people to come to the market and do good things. Not only Zomato, but you saw, of course, if you're all the Portuguese, especially the people from Lisbon, will know about some of the digital projects that are all obviously occupying the space that we've never wanted to fill. But that will change. But because that was the reality 3 years ago, we thought we have to do something different. We have to grow as a brand. We're a local brand. We have to stay as a local brand because that's our genes, and that's what makes us so different from everything else. We don't want to be national. We want to talk to people as close as we can. We had all the values that we wanted to put in place were already there. People would identify us not as João and Miguel and Rita or whatever, but as a brand. People would identify the brand itself as a character that they would feel close to. So that was done. What else could we do? And so we've created this very crazy idea of doing the first editorial physical space of the world. A place where all our contents could potentially come to life. A 3D magazine. Well, actually more than a 3D, a 4D magazine. A magazine where people could not only read about the food, but eat the food. Not read about the wine, but drink the wine. Not read about the music, but hear the music. And so on, and so on, and so on. And this was a very, very bold project that actually had done the way it's matured was in a very odd way, because it didn't start as a big thing and then went to a more modest one. Actually started as a very modest one. We were looking for spaces between 500 and 1,000 square meters, and we ended up with one of the largest spaces in Lisbon, the main market. This is basically how the market is right now, and I'll explain.
Andares, liga o cabo que liga a vida a esse jogo.
João will tell you, it's not an official, but it is the main attraction in the city by far. We have more than 14,000 people every week. We've had days with more than 14,000 people a day. And we've been considered by every F&B group in the world as the top 1 to 3 main thing that was born in the last 3 years. I tell this with a big dose, I must say, of surprise. We've never thought this could become as big as this. So to be modest enough, I have to say that. I'll tell you a little bit about the market. You'll understand how big the project is if you don't know it yet. So the starting point, of course, Lisbon, a great starting point. I've been traveling every week, actually now. I've been to Tel Aviv last week, go to Berlin tomorrow, London after that, and I'm going to all the cities where the food scene is strong, where the cultural life is booming. And I can tell you, probably now, more than never before, I've never saw our city in such a good shape. Of course, the fact that it's big enough to have a project like this was important. The fact of the numbers of tourists is much stronger. No project in this town now, and I've been saying this for a long time as an editor of the magazine. If you see probably the 20 most successful projects that were born in this city in the last couple of years, probably 5 to 7 years, they all rely on the strength of locals and tourists alike. This is very important for people to do. I think loads of projects are failing because they don't work this mix as well, I think, as we've tried to, and it's working so far. And so we have a principle, a very clear principle. We say that that locals don't follow tourists, but tourists do follow locals. This is obviously very easy to have a project like this packed with tourists, but we need locals. I can tell you now that 90% of our marketing is actually spent in locals, because we need for the buzz to be there, for the place to be alive, fresh, with all the people that's interesting and that make this city, as you see, beautiful one. And that, as authentic as we are, the more we can call, the more tourists we can call to our site. I can tell you of hundreds of details, of course, that where we strengthen this point. One of them, for instance, every place it has all its indications and mention in Portuguese. Because we hate tourist traps, all of us, when we travel, and so we hate to see people calling for us saying that how beautiful steak or the best whatever in English because of the best sardines, as grilled sardines, as we normally say. We hate that, and so we've tried to avoid that at all costs. Of course, the location is absolutely great. If you know the city, you'll know that. But your Portuguese colleagues on your site will tell you, if they're honest enough, that it wasn't that amazing 2 years ago. It changed a lot, and we've helped, of course, to change this place a lot. And so, of course, now there was a construction going on of the headquarters of one of the biggest companies here, the electrical company. But apart from that, we know about 12 big companies that are putting their headquarters next to our market on that street. So that proves how, as well, doing a good touristic project, we can help regenerating a whole part of the city, as I think we are. This is the market, it's an historic building, and I think that the biggest compliment that everyone does to us is to remind us how the Greeks saw the people, how they normally said that for you to evaluate the value of a man, you have to evaluate what has he done for his own city. I think we have done a tremendous job to recuperate not only an historic building, but keeping it in his doing exactly what it was done to do. And that was to receive people, to serve him food, to sell fresh food as well, but to have everything that can be still attached to the historical tradition of the city. And we've done that. There is nothing that we've done here that would in any way clash with the original function of this building. And actually, more than 50%, according to our architects, more than 50% of the work we've done was to redo things that the past erased since the original plans. People recognize those kind of things. People want to hear about narratives. People don't want to go to new places alone because they have that in their own places and they can see them in virtual touring on the internet. In order to visit places and be amazed with them and be passionate about them, you have to understand what's going around. And so we try to pass that story to our clients. We're actually working and giving even more story to our clients. We're doing a book about the place, not to explain what we're doing, but to explain what the place was before we entered the place. That is very strong, we believe. Of course, the fact that the neighborhood was buzzing with people because of the nightlife activity was very helpful, but 95% of our activity actually goes into the moment that that part of the neighborhood goes to life. Of course, now we want to take advantage of that as well, and we want to integrate all of that, but we are complementary. And that's very important, because as you can imagine, when we said TimeOut is creating a space, people were like, okay, so you were so harsh, criticizing places, saying what's good and what's bad, and now you're creating alternatives, you're doing competition to the places you were reviewing. Well, partly we are, of course, I cannot say we are not, but being complementary is actually something that we can easily prove. We are giving some alternatives to the Lisboners that they didn't have before. And we were the first, well, we're doing in this scale, of course, Mercado Campo de Rico, which from people who do it very well, were the first project like this in a small market in town. And now there's another one in the fringes of Lisbon, in Algiers, and other in Cascais, and there will be much more, because food markets, it's not what we do also do food markets, but food markets, I bet in this room, and you probably confirm it or not, will be the biggest trend for me after the sushi restaurants 15 years ago. I think it's as strong as this. I can tell you about, we counted the other day, 32 new projects about to open in the biggest cities in the world. This is how strong it is. I've just been in Tel Aviv where I saw 2 open, 3 about to open. This is it's happening everywhere. Of course, in New York you already have 12 open already, but there's still 21 to open. It's crazy, the trend. And so we don't think we've taken business out of no one. We think, we strongly believe that we gave another option to the city, and especially because of the concept we've got that I'll tell you about in a minute. So it's a big space. The market itself, to my audience, I meet there's more people working in square meters, so the whole market is 10,000 square meters. We occupy around 7,000 square meters, and the food hall area that you saw, the only one working fully now, it's about 3,000 square meters. So it's a big space. Remember, we were thinking in opening a space of 500. We have now 7,000. The whole space now, as we speak, if you go there now, has 23 mini restaurants, 10 food stalls, 12 bars and shops, 800 seats. Can you anticipate what kind of reactions we received when we first presented this project to the city? It was in the same year, let me tell you that the VAT went up from 13% to 23%. So people were deciding if they should emigrate or stay. That was the main decision. And we were saying, why don't you open a new restaurant in a place that looks like the Noah Ark? But they did come. And they did come, this is the division of the place right now, where we have all the restaurants. We have also a music venue, to squeeze in 500 people. It's just now receiving its first big concert at Mota, strong name in Brazil. Is coming here, and our goal is to again have a curated experience. Live concerts, we've had some. Very difficult to transform a place in something as flexible as this, because we need food, we need culture, we need music, we need art, and we have all that. We have a cooking academy, which is very important. As the communal area that you saw at Sittings, there are very small ideas, can be pop-ups, we don't know, it's nothing close, like the cooking academy, where I think we can best recreate the social network feeling of our lives. So this is where people actually connect, this is where people know each other, this is where you can meet someone from Norway and Deutschland and from Germany and Indonesia, and that happens every day. People write us about that. People write us about how they met their new girlfriend in our space. And that doesn't happen by chance. That happens because we've worked a lot on the layout of the space in order for the space of the magazine, as we call it, can recreate exactly our day-to-day lives. We have, by the way, we have an art gallery that we've asked Vils, the biggest artist in contemporary Portuguese art, to curate. And instead of asking him to do whatever, we gave him a very very strict briefing. We said to him, look, there's you know the affordable art fair, isn't that cool? Why don't you do the affordable art gallery? So that's basically what it does with the work of artists, foreign artists mainly, that come to Lisbon and stay here, because he has a lot of these kind of work. So that's what we try to do. Of course, it's difficult. Most of these projects, I must say, if you go there, they're still on the very, very early days. They have a lot of people, that's a good thing, but we're still trying to get professional about this. There are so many things that we didn't know about, and actually there are so many things that nobody knew about because we just created. But if we're not afraid to fail, and believe me, we are not, it goes well. We have this amazing footfall, 45, 70,000 a week, actually. Sometimes more than this. It has been a big surprise. It has been very difficult to cope with this as well. Success can be very tricky. As you know, sometimes there's too much people for us to manage. But yeah, about 2 million, we will have more than 3 million on the second year. There's not much people talking about these, about the numbers. But we're actually happy about that. We've had amazing ratings. 3 months after we were called by the New York Times as one of the best food halls in the world. Only 2 months, 2 or 3 months after. So there are some amazing results. And yeah, this is what we're saying now to the world. Why? Just do here a small pause. Well, TimeOut Group was not very convinced about these crazy ideas. When he saw the space open and with those kind of crowds inside, they decided to buy the place. And so they bought our business, and they bought the franchisee, the business, and they decided to do a sister company called TimeOut Market, just to explore this kind of business. A parallel business to the magazine. I insist on parallel because I do think that it's very important for us to differentiate our concept from all the other food halls that we can see appearing everywhere. And so for us, it's important to maintain as much adapt as it can to the editorial part. And so we're showing this, and we're saying for people that it's working amazingly for TimeOut, because we do have more sales, because the brand awareness, again, is very strengthened with a space like that. It works for developers anywhere in the world. My best crowd now are the developers. Everywhere I go, these people, of course, are eager to find people that can give a new life to their buildings. They're doing new buildings everywhere, but they don't know exactly what to put in their ground floor. How can they receive and welcome people? There's a lot of paradigms changing in our society, and probably we're able to identify a couple of them. But loads of things change. Like, it's very curious, when I speak about the communal space to all these people, they're like, oh, that's probably a very Portuguese thing. I said, I don't think so. Actually, when architects do the elevators in the middle of a building, they're just taking all the magic of the space. So you're not welcoming people. You're not permitting people to see other people. And these were things that we just realized after seeing the effect of our space and trying to replicate it elsewhere. So it's cool to see how an example like this was already quoted by Zaha Hadid for this relationship. And I think that the best, probably the only secret there is to all of that, is that we thought about it. We had a group of young people around the table thinking about every single detail of the space, thinking, arguing. And why were we better than anyone else to do that? Well, I think that first, because as they were saying before, hiring is very important, and we do have a group of incredibly talented people here in many areas, and my company, I was glad to say so as well. But also because I think that the challenges that we have in a city that is smaller than the big ones can make us thinking in a different way. We do have to invent. It's not a question of we can. We have to, because if we don't create nothing, we will not be seen by anyone in the world. And so we did that, and I think the business as well was very good for customers. I think there's a new experience on that. We're all bored about this cliche word about experience. We all know that experiences are very needed. Of course they are. It's a given. But how can we create that experience? All shopping malls create experiences. The question is if the experiences are good enough to appeal to people, to young people, and not only for them to go there and see and do a check in their bucket list, but also to their return to their places. This is the biggest challenge, I think. And so it is good for customers. We have results that people return, local people return. Well, the rate of the only study we've done was once a week. That's really, really strong for any project like this. And of course, it's good for businesses. And for me especially, this is actually one of the most important things. When we do things for our city, it's very important to very rewarding to give the possibility of small business to thrive in a different way. And many of the places that are there, that you can see they're represented, were places that our team chose after seeing hundreds of places. And they said, no, this guy has to be there. The sushi guy has to be this one. The pizza guy has to be this one. But especially because mostly it's fine dining, you have to have this chef, you have to have this restaurateur. And to convince all of these people was not always easy, of course. First because of the conditions of the economy, you know all about that, of course, but also because some of those cases, it's a very old city with old people doing great things, but it's difficult to convince those people. So at least 3 of those people obliged them to be there in their homes, doing like meetings, family meetings, convincing people to get in the market. Now, of course, I can tell you there's nothing that's more rewarding in all my career than knowing that these people are rich, very rich now. They're making a lot of money in the market because, that's the main thing of course, they are now able to show to everybody in the world that what we have and what we do is absolutely great. You know, I came from London to Lisbon 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago. I was living there for 5 years. And one of the things that I normally said was, you know, our food is rubbish. People would try to beat me, normally. That was the reaction. But the truth was, I thought, and I still do, that there were a number of very dangerous myths about our offer that completely destroyed our view outside. So if you would ask any demanding client from Europe about the food offer, for instance, in any city, they would speak about the amazing molecular or tapas traditional food of Spain. They will know all about Italian food. They will know a lot about the very exquisite food of France. They will know all about the new trend of the Scandinavian food. And Portugal, oh yes, Portugal is great because you can eat plates like that. Piles of food for very cheap prices. That was our image. And that was actually probably 80%, 90% of our image. Some people say, yeah, you have the custard tarts, and you have a number of things, but nobody was actually recognizing a lot of talent. Nobody was actually saying the good taste of many things, the uniqueness of most of our products that were not being sold, of course, because we always thought that the cheapest we sell, the more we sell. And of course, we were hiding most of our treasures. And so that was our idea, to convince those people, to show, that was actually our mission, to show to the world that we have quality that can be shoulder to shoulder with the best in the world, and that nobody knew about. It was nothing that, I was not, of course, a pessimist about our offer on food, wine, on culture. I just thought we didn't know how to promote it. I actually still do, in some way. And so, this is our concept, what we've done. This is very important to understand as well, our kind of concept. People say, oh yeah, food markets, I know so many. Now a new one. Well, mainly, I would say, most of them would be something like this. There's street food concept, normally, that is made permanent. So you have a lot of people that do good food, tacos, and burritos, and pizzas, and whatever you can do in a small van, and put them together under the same roof, and you say it's a food market, and it is. So what we do is slightly different, because we go from the other hand. We go to the fine dining, we go to the Michelin star restaurants, we go especially, not because we're not very worried about Michelin stars, but we go to the people that we consider to be really the best. Known, or least known, that for us was not important at the time, and I say at the time because now they're all very well known, thankfully, but at the time some of them weren't, and we've convinced them to give a more casual offer, but still to serve exactly what they did best. The idea is not for you to go to a market and have a spin-off, like a cheaper version of whatever. No, the idea is to do exactly what they do best in their places of origin, and that can be in a flower pot, in the ham, in the wine, or in the food. Everything. The idea is to have exactly what to be your flagship dishes, your flagship products, and do there probably a smaller and cheaper version. But it's only that. And that is really cool. And the only question, actually, I can tell you a little secret. One thing we're missing in the market is still people are not able to connect exactly the magazine with the concept. So where does the magazine enters here? And so, and because all those feedbacks are really important, we are now trying to strengthen that relationship. We are now trying to explain to people, and we'll have signs on the side of each restaurant explaining why they are there. They are there because this is a curated spot. This is a place that was carefully curated on all its details by a team of people that cares about editorial choices. And yeah, we always thought it could be replicated. They said it was a dream to create this, then they said it was a dream to replicate it. And now I'm seeing 7 different cities where we think will open very briefly in the next 3 to 4 years, depending on the city, depending on the development that we inform. But we are replicating this, and so it's brilliant to be able to bring something from Lisbon to the world, and not with the idea actually of bringing the chefs from Lisbon elsewhere. The idea is to replicate the concept, the ethos of this. The idea is to have the best of each city under the same roof on any of these areas. Of course, secrets, you all know about that. Foodborne, food is as strong as it could be, and we are, I believe, in the very, very early stages of these amazing trends. Not to recognize this is a mistake that has then costed a lot of money, I think, to many companies. All the stats that you can see, especially the ones that target directly millennials, are unbelievable. People want food more than they want almost everything. Of course, social networks, this is an unparalleled, and this is important, I think, for any audience that I speak to. I try to stress this, because I like when people know how to describe the place and why our market is different. It's different because we offer culture as well. It's not only about food for us. We have a strong, very expensive team curating the culture. For us, it's important. We'll have Carlos do Carmo, that you don't know, but it's the most well-known Portuguese singer of fado, the folk music, who is giving a concert in the middle of the market this Saturday. So if you want to go there, it's free. It's an amazing concert. To do a concert with a guy like this in the middle of the market is a big, big headache. But that's, again, our ethos, is to show, is not to go following the path of all the houses of fado, where they have fado there. We don't do that. So we aim for the best. Oh, we can only do them twice a year. We prefer that. We have the best guy there. We'll give an amazing concert and we'll be packed. And we'll have, which is something that gives us a lot of pride, people photographing and putting on social networks all over the world. There's no place in the city, of course, that has more things, more images than this. It's different because it's curated for the editorial team. It's different because it has culture. It's the best. And it's different, of course, because it's TimeOut. And TimeOut, I'll save you the explanation, but it's a brand that has the power to attract people. I think it would work anyway, now that we've proved that, but it's very good to be associated with a brand that can do that. And that's it really. I just wanted to show you the concept. I think it's something that will happen in many cities, or with or without me, because it gained its own life. And I'm very proud that it was born here, and that it can show to so many people and so many companies that's what we can do. Thank you.